The moment still replays in my mind like a slow-motion nightmare. I was standing at the center of my wedding reception, surrounded by smiling guests, flowers, music, and the man I loved more than anything. Everything was perfect. Until my sister walked up to me with a small red gift box in her hands. She was smiling, but it wasn't the warm kind of smile a sister should have on her sibling's wedding day. It was tight, strange, almost satisfied. She handed the box to me in front of everyone and said, "Open it now. I picked it especially for you." I remember reaching for the ribbon when suddenly my husband, my calm, composed, highly trained Navy SEAL commander husband, grabbed my wrist harder than I'd ever felt him move before, and said 3 words that froze the entire room. "Don't touch it." His voice wasn't just serious. It was commanding, deadly serious, the kind of tone that makes soldiers stop moving instantly. The music stopped. Guests stared. My sister's smile disappeared for just a split second, and in that moment, I realized something was very, very wrong. So tell me honestly, if you were standing at your own wedding, holding a gift from your sister while your husband looked terrified and told you not to touch it, what would you do? To understand how everything got to that moment, you need to know about my sister Claire. Growing up, Claire and I were only 2 years apart, but it always felt like we lived in completely different worlds. She was the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect smile. The kind of person teachers adored and neighbors praised. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one. Not bad, just invisible. Claire thrived on attention. She loved being the center of every room. Birthdays, holidays, family dinners. She had to be the star of the show. For years, I thought that was just her personality. A little dramatic, a little competitive. But as we got older, I started realizing something deeper was going on. Claire didn't just like attention. She hated when I had it. When I got into my dream college, she suddenly announced she was applying there too. When I got my first real job, she immediately started telling family members about a better opportunity she was pursuing. Even though it didn't exist yet, it was always like that. Every achievement I had somehow became her competition. But everything changed when I met Daniel. Daniel wasn't just a good man, he was the kind of man who walked into a room and made people feel safe without even trying. Tall, calm, disciplined. He didn't talk much about his work, but everyone knew he was a Navy SEAL commander. The first time I met him was at a charity event a mutual friend dragged me to. I remember thinking he looked intimidating at first, but then he smiled at me. And suddenly he seemed like the warmest person in the world. We talked for hours that night. Not about his job or anything dramatic. Just life, books, stupid childhood stories. And for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. Our relationship moved quickly, but it never felt rushed. Daniel was thoughtful, patient, and protective in a way that felt natural, not controlling. He listened when I spoke. He remembered little details about me. And slowly, I fell completely in love with him. When he proposed, it was simple and perfect. Just the two of us on a quiet beach at sunset. No big crowd. No cameras. Just him asking if I'd spend the rest of my life with him. Of course, when I told my family, everyone was thrilled. My parents adored Daniel immediately. But Claire's reaction was strange. She smiled and hugged me, but her eyes studied him like she was analyzing something. Later that night, she pulled me aside and asked a question that stuck with me. "Are you sure you really know him?" she said. I laughed it off. I told her he was amazing, that he treated me better than anyone ever had. She nodded slowly, but something about her expression bothered me. Looking back now, I should have paid more attention. During the months leading up to the wedding, Claire became unusually involved in the planning. At first, I thought she was just trying to be a supportive sister. She offered to help choose decorations, coordinate guests, even organize the reception music. But sometimes she'd ask strange questions about Daniel. Questions about his deployments, his work, his security clearances. I assumed she was just curious, like everyone else. I mean, being married to someone in special operations sounds mysterious to most people. Daniel noticed it too. One evening, while we were reviewing seating arrangements, he casually asked, "Your sister asks a lot about my job." I shrugged and told him. She'd always been curious about everything. He didn't say anything else, but I could tell something about it bothered him. Still, the wedding day arrived and everything seemed perfect. The ceremony was beautiful. The sun was setting just right behind the outdoor venue, casting golden light over the garden. Daniel looked unbelievably handsome in his suit. When I walked down the aisle, I saw tears in his eyes. That moment alone made every stressful week of planning worth it. The reception started with laughter, music, and endless congratulations. Guests danced. My parents were glowing with happiness. Even Claire seemed cheerful, laughing with cousins and chatting with Daniel like nothing had ever been strange between them. For a moment, I truly believed everything was finally good between us. Then came the moment that changed everything. Claire approached us during the reception, holding that small red gift box. It was wrapped perfectly with a silver ribbon, too perfectly, the kind of wrapping that looks almost staged. "I saved my gift for last," she said. "It's something really special." Everyone nearby turned, their attention toward us. Weddings always create little audience moments like that. People love seeing gifts opened. I smiled politely and reached for the ribbon. That's when Daniel's hand grabbed my wrist. "Don't touch it." His voice was low but powerful. The entire room went silent. At first I thought he was joking, but when I looked at his face, I saw something I had never seen before. Fear, not panic. Daniel was too controlled for that, but intense. Focused concern. Claire frowned. "What's wrong with you?" she asked him. Daniel didn't answer her. He kept his eyes on the box like it was a snake ready to strike. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "Where did you get this box?" Claire hesitated, just for a second, but Daniel noticed. The air in the room felt heavy. Guests whispered quietly around us. My parents looked confused, and I just stood there holding the gift, completely unsure what was happening. And this is the part where I want to ask you something, because this was the exact moment I had to decide what to do. My sister had given me a gift at my own wedding. My husband, who was trained to detect threats and had seen things most people never will, was telling me not to touch it. So before I tell you what happened next, I want you to think about it. If you were in my position, standing there in front of everyone, would you trust your sister or your husband? Pause for a second and imagine that moment, because what I did next changed everything. I slowly set the gift box down on the table. Claire immediately snapped, "Oh, come on, don't be dramatic. It's just a gift." But Daniel wasn't backing down. He carefully slid the box away from me like it was dangerous. "What is wrong with you?" Claire repeated louder this time. Daniel finally looked at her and said something that made the entire room gasp. This box was opened and resealed. Claire's face turned pale. Daniel explained calmly that the tape seal had tiny marks that suggested someone had opened it and closed it again. Apparently it was the kind of detail military personnel are trained to notice when checking suspicious packages. Suddenly, the happy wedding atmosphere completely vanished. Claire started laughing nervously. "Are you serious right now? You think I put a bomb in a wedding gift?" But Daniel didn't laugh. Instead, he called one of his friends who happened to be at the wedding, another military guy. Within minutes, they carefully opened the box away from the crowd. Inside was a small jewelry case. At first, everyone sighed with relief. But when Daniel opened the jewelry case, his expression changed instantly. Inside wasn't jewelry. It was a small recording device. My heart dropped. Daniel pressed the play button. And then the room filled with my voice, saying things I had never said. The recording sounded exactly like me, but the words were awful. It was me admitting to cheating on Daniel, mocking him, saying I only married him for his money and status. It was horrifying. I felt sick listening to it. Daniel immediately turned the device off. Claire stood there frozen. Then Daniel said quietly, "This is AI voice manipulation." He explained that someone had used recordings of my voice, probably from social media or videos, to generate fake audio designed to destroy our marriage. Everyone looked at Claire. She started shaking her head frantically. "I didn't make that. I just found the box." But Daniel asked her one question that broke her story. "Then why were you so desperate for her to open it in front of everyone?" Claire didn't answer, and eventually, she broke down. Through tears and anger, she admitted everything. She had been jealous of me for years. She couldn't stand the idea of me marrying someone successful and admired. She thought if Daniel heard the recording during the wedding, he'd believe it and call everything off. She wanted to ruin the happiest day of my life. My parents were devastated. Guests were shocked, and I just stood there feeling like my entire childhood relationship with my sister had shattered in front of me. Security escorted Claire out of the reception while she screamed that it was just a prank. But it wasn't a prank. It was betrayal. The rest of the night was strange but beautiful in its own way. Our friends and family rallied around us. Daniel held my hand through everything. reminding me none of it was my fault. And honestly, the moment that stayed with me the most wasn't the betrayal. It was the moment he grabbed my wrist and said, "Don't touch it," because in that moment he protected me without hesitation. So if there's any lesson in this whole mess, it's this. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most can surprise you in the worst ways. And sometimes the person who chooses you becomes the family you were always meant to have. If you made it this far, I'd really love to know what you think. Was I right to trust my husband instead of my sister? Do you think Claire knew exactly how much damage she was trying to cause? If you were on my side, make sure you like this video. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe because there are plenty more unbelievable stories coming. Share your thoughts in the comments below because I read every single one. Thanks for listening to my story, and I'll see you all in the next one.